Hello and welcome to my tiny tarot practice. I'm Amelia Ruby, and on this show, I share my tiny tarot practice as I study the tarot card by card. We are currently in the 5th and final season of the show, and this season is sponsored by the amazing book Tarot for Creative Spirits by Cecily Saylor. Today's card is the Empress. In the Rider-Waite-Smith edition of the tarot, the Empress depicts a person seated on a throne holding a staff of maybe corn or wheat. They have a crown with 12 stars on their head. They're wearing a cloak covered in pomegranates or roses, and they're situated in this really beautiful verdant scene. There are green trees behind them, a stream flowing beside them, and wheat growing in front of them. At their feet is a stone tablet, perhaps, that's shaped like a heart and has the symbol for woman on it. And their throne is covered in these lush red blankets and pillows. So this scene is really one of comfort and luxuriating in nature. The Empress appears so comfortable on their throne in nature. And many interpretations of this card interpret the Empress as nature itself. In 78 Degrees of Wisdom, Rachel Pollack describes the Empress as pure emotion and connects the Empress to the two cards that come before it, the Magician and the High Priestess, saying that the Magician is activeness, the High Priestess is instinct, and then combined, those become emotion, or the Empress. And when I first studied the tarot, when I first read 78 Degrees of Wisdom and went through the major arcana and did the work that helped me decide to start this podcast, I made a note in my journal that said, High Priestess is intuition, Empress is emotion. Think about the difference. And so with this card, I do think about the difference between intuition and emotion, between going deep within to connect with our inner voice and with responding from within to express our outer voice and our emotions. And the Empress for me always signifies those moments of pleasure when we are able to express our emotion in the world and when we're able to step into nature's currents and cycles and seasons and find our intuition mirrored there. The Empress is so embodied and so present in nature. And I think that many of us long for that. As Jessica Dorr writes in Tarot for Change, we long to be in our bodies and have forgotten how. So the Empress is a card that invites us back into our bodies, that reminds us of the pleasure and power of being embodied in the context of nature. And I think this is a beautiful archetype to work with, study, appreciate if we're on an embodiment journey. Many depictions of the Empress also depict the Empress as pregnant and connect this card to fertility, both in creating and procreating. With the images of the wheat and the pomegranates on the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the card, we also see the symbols of the Demeter-Persephone myth of the mother goddess of the harvest and the daughter who is taken into the underworld and symbolized by these pomegranate seeds. So while the cards of the Empress often depict nature in all its glory, there are these subtle reminders that nature also holds darkness and violence and challenge. It's not simply an idealized rosy picture. With joy always comes grief. With life always comes death. And the Empress is the Empress of that domain in its entirety, able to hold both the beauty and the sorrow in their seasons as they cycle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of my Tiny Tarot practice. If you'd like to explore prompts and creative practices in relationship to this card and every other card, I encourage you to check out Tarot for Creative Spirits by Cecily Saylor. That book is our presenting sponsor this season, and I am so enjoying working through it as I explore the major arcana here with you. I'll leave you today with the invocation to be with nature like the empress, to embrace the cycles and seasons of change.